Hello friends, and welcome to Koi's story on my story, third part and final part. Welcome.
Nobody knew what I was deep into. I didn't share what I was going into because once you share, it's everybody's business. So I didn't share, but I knew I was done with life until a lady, maybe I'm not going to mention her name, she passed on and she left a little girl. And that's what changed my mind. Seeing that girl cry for her mom during her memorial, seeing her lay there and the girl wailing, I looked at my son's picture and I realized how much I would destroy my son's life. Both in Kenya, it was already maybe 6 years here, they have not seen me and they maybe have a hope. There's so much I didn't talk about. It's a heavy story. I don't want to talk about my marriage and my relationship because it's more personal. But I felt how much I would destroy them. Like already being far away was destroying them a lot. They had already been broken of already me being sick those years far away from them. I imagine if I die, how much I'll destroy them. Or how much I'll hurt them. And this young boy that I had here, how much I'll kind of destroy their future. That is what changed my mind. Seeing somebody, I'm sorry because that was a sad scenario because nobody wants somebody to die, but that death changed my perspective of me wanting to die or me wanting to live. It made me want to change. No matter how messed up my life was, because at this point I was so messed up with so many things, because once you're doing drugs you need money, so I'll borrow everywhere money, even monetary, whatever, and I don't pay because I don't even have money. I don't go to work sometimes, so I was bad. My credit is bad. All this. But I decided even if I am a mess, I would rather be a mess alive than be dead. So I didn't want to change maybe at that time about alcohol, but I decided, let me just stay. Being a mess, but alive. But I'm not going to die. My thoughts, that's what changed my suicidal thoughts. Seeing how miserable my kids would be, and it changed me. And then at that time, things were a little getting better with the guy that I told you that he was more helpful. And so I opened up about my alcoholism and my drugs about him, and he kind of embraced me the way I was, and he said, this is a fight. I remember he cried. We cried together and said, this is a fight and we'll fight it. And the war began there. The war to that started. And it wasn't easy. It's to get out of something out. But one thing that I started now going through, even if I wanted to get out of it, I needed to deal with the reason why I went there from the word go. Because as much as I'll get out of alcohol, I'll still find myself. Because why? The reason that took me out, it's still in me. I haven't dealt with the wound. I'm trying to cover it up and it's not gonna happen. So I'll find myself going back to that. And so I think last year is when I encountered my change, and I can say my complete change. And sadly, the reason that changed me to who I am today, it's death again. I don't know if God had to put me through. This is the second time, like the suicide and everything, death changed me. And then this time it was my brother who passed on, and my sister, and that changed me. It completely changed me. I felt the time of going through grief was the time that I met God, and was the time that I found my purpose, and was the time that I learned what I needed to be, and it's the time I let go what was missing. Because all this time I was trying to blame. I was putting blame on things. I didn't love me enough to know that this is me. This is Koi. I was created. Whether there was a dad or there was a mom, I took things for granted. I'll say that. Instead of taking my mom's love and running away with it, thanking God. I mean, there are people who are born with me, they didn't have a mom or dad. But here, God has blessed me. I may not have two parents, but I had a mom who was so loving. I had sisters, but I didn't take. That's what I healed. I needed to address and see. I did need somebody else to feel me loved, even if we didn't have much. It's not because of my dad. Maybe even if he was alive, we would not have much also. But I needed to heal and know. And that's why all these mistakes with men were coming from, trying to find something that I did not, because I had lost me. And I needed to realize God knew, and he created me being beautiful because there was a reason for it. And my beauty was not to be used. My beauty was not to be used by anyhow. My beauty was not to be put there. I was like, one day somebody asked me, and I asked myself, why can't I use this beauty to glorify my God that gave me this beauty? Instead of seeing it like a hindrance, instead of seeing it like a bad thing, why don't I use it to glorify God? And so I started realizing what I needed. And the first thing I needed to do was to forgive myself. I needed to forgive myself. And this is something, because all this time I was busy pouring out to people. I was busy helping people. I was busy talking to people, but I wasn't helping myself. I was not helping myself at all. I was not dealing with my fears. I was not dealing with my... I'll talk to you like a counselor. I'll tell you, no, don't do this. But myself, I wasn't. I needed to have the same compassion I was giving to other people. I needed the same compassion to give to myself. I needed to love me and forgive myself. And that's what I did first. I prayed God to give me forgiveness first. Before I even do anything else, I needed to forgive me for the times that I never loved myself, for the times that I complained, and for the times that I never showed up for me. So that was my first thing that I did, to forgive myself. And after I forgave myself, I felt free. I felt free. There was just that something that came in me that I felt so free. I did not need anybody to fill any vacuum in my life. I felt so free. And at that time, God talked to me. At all this time, I will hear people say that God talks to them, and I will laugh about it. Or people will say that God talked to me, but God talked to me. And it was when we went to Mount Rainier one day with friends. And that night, I was taking a shower, and somebody tapped me. And I had like a tap in my shoulder. And and when I was like, did somebody just touch me? Okay. Then another touch touched me. I would feel like really somebody touched me. And I thought, okay, then somebody is playing tricks on me. And then I had a mind or something in me telling me, Koi, you need to change. You need to change. That's all I had. You need to change. You are loved and you need to change. And it gave me the story of Martha came into my mind out of nowhere. You see the story of Lazarus and Martha and Mary when Jesus came and Martha was busy preparing food and Mary was listening. That story started ringing in my mind. It's like I was watching their movie. I will put, like I'll see them acting. It's like I'm watching a movie and I'll see, and I felt like I was so much Martha. I was so busy doing things out there. Yes, I go to church. Yes, I love. I'm not serving him. I'm just pretending I'm serving him, but I'm not. But God wanted me to be Mary, to sit at his feet. That story came ringing in my mind. And then I was like, is God? And then now is God talking to me? And I shouted. I took a towel. The water is still running and I wrapped myself because I was like, I don't even have any clothes on. I felt, and then I said, I remember, God, if you are talking to me, something needs to drop from this, so that I can know for real I'm not going crazy or whatever. Guess what? The soap fell. The soap literally fell. I was like, okay, I'm not trying you, God. If you remember Gideon telling God in the morning, but I'm like, okay, maybe if the second one falls, I will really know. And this time, I didn't want the that time ni sabuni ya the body wash is what fall. I was specific now. Can you make the shampoo fell? If it's true, it's you. And I continue, and I was singing a song. I don't even remember what song I was singing, and it fell out from where it was. I never touched it, and that was my turning point. I think this is my story, and I've never told. I don't think I've ever told. I think I've only told one person about this, and that is how God, for the first time, I knew God was talking to me, and I knew I needed to change, and I knew that it's gonna be hard to change, but I knelt down, and I told God, I'm giving you my life. Let me tell you, I didn't do this in church. I didn't do it anywhere. I went to the bedroom where I was sleeping and knelt, and I told God, I'm telling you, God, I'm giving you my life. You've told me, and now I want to be Mary. Sit there, and it's not going to be easy. It's a journey, but you have to walk with me. And I want to encounter you. And I want to know you. I grew up in Pathfinder saying Bible verses that I didn't know. I grew up in church singing songs. I did all this in a very strict church and a strict mom. But I never encountered God. It's like, that is, I told God, now I want to encounter you. Use me. I want to encounter you. I don't want that God that I grew up in Sunday school talking about, or in Pathfinder talking about, or in youth, or in choir. I want God to encounter you now, personal level. And God has never left me since that day. I know God maybe talked to me before, but I could not hear it. Maybe because I was so busy. There was so much noise around him. And that's why sometimes we don't hear God, because there's so much noise surrounding us. Not really noise, but maybe there are people surrounding you that cannot make you not hear God. Maybe there's things that you're doing and you can't really hear the God. You're not seeking him. And that's why even if he stops, he can't. Me, I know. For now, I have known that God can really talk to you, and he can tell you. And I'm learning to pray more and seek him more. And loving, and that was the change. That was the change. And God took me, and from that on is when there was something happened in my life, and there was a turnover. And all this time, it was so funny, because when this is happening, there was a turnover. Remember, I'm still grieving anyway, to losing 2 siblings and all this, and God is still trying to make me arrange with what he wants. And I came to a time of loneliness at that time, and I felt like I was so lonely, and the people that were surrounding me stopped. They disappeared. They stopped talking for no reason. They disappeared. But I remember going silent, and one day somebody sent me out of nowhere. I don't even talk to her, and she told me that, send me something about sometimes when God wants to talk you over a change, she can take you to a place of loneliness, whereby you are just lonely, not because you are lonely, but because she has to remove the things that are surrounding you that are not aligning with him. And I understood, and here I am. And it's not been easy. It's not, especially when you're used to all these things. It's not easy. Sometimes you'll wake up with a little bit of strength, and you feel like, I need to drink something. You have to have I had to practice self-control of myself not to fall into that, because I didn't want to go back to the same thing that I went to. Like, I hated it. So God has taught me self-control. And then I didn't know how to say no. I could not say no. That's something I've learned. I've learned to say no without even explaining. If I feel like this is not right, I'll just say no. I'm not perfect. Like I say, it's not been a year since all this encounter, but I feel like God is taking me to a place, and I'm happy that I have healed, or I can say I'm healing from self-hate and all these things, and forgiveness. And one thing I'll tell somebody who's probably going through a life situation whereby you don't like yourself, or you feel like situations didn't go the way they are, God created you for a reason. God created you for a reason. In fact, that's why I celebrate my birthday this month, and that's one thing that I want to say. God created you. There's a reason why you're on this earth. There's a reason why you are here. Find that reason. And God, there's somewhere in Philemon, God has everything God, there's something in you that there's nobody else. You know, we always say there's a twin somewhere. Oh, maybe there's somebody who looks like me somewhere. That's what sometimes we say. But I believe there's only one Koi. Even if there's somebody who looks like me, we are not the same personality. People give birth to twins and they look different. They may look alike, but there's something different in them. There's only you in this world, and only you who can love yourself. Only you who can practice self-forgiveness. Practice loving you. Practice when you feel like you're overwhelmed, or maybe things are overwhelming you, find something that you find joy in. Do you find joy in cooking? Do you find joy in singing? Do you find joy in walking? When the feelings overwhelm you, find that thing that you find joy in. Number 2, don't be afraid to seek help. Because that one thing that I didn't want to seek help. I feel like people will think I'm crazy. Seek professional help if you have to. I know it's very hard to have somebody these days to talk to. Find somebody that you can talk to. It could be your mom. It could be a friend. Tell God. And you know, when you have the Spirit of God with you, or when you pray to God, God hears and He will give you the right person to speak to. Because sometimes what we do, we pour out our hearts to the wrong people because that's what we thought is right. But tell God to bring somebody in your life who you can talk to. Seek the face of God. Seek the face of God, and He'll help you get out of where you are stuck. Seek Him and He'll help you get out. Don't rely on any help. Of course, you need help when, like, for example, when you need to talk to somebody here or wherever, but there's help that comes there that really works for you. And nothing is too impossible. Nothing is too hard for God. Nothing is too hard for God. And don't ever see somebody in that situation, or somebody who is suicidal, or somebody who was given life, and think they don't love the same. Sometimes you do it to make it easier. You feel like you're a burden. You feel like, if I die, I'm not going to be at that big burden to these people. Or if I die, my life will be better. Sometimes they feel like they're taking the weight out of you. It's not themselves, and sometimes they're not. Don't ever feel like somebody is selfish or whatever. Support them. And if you can't do anything to them, pray for them or just love them. But send them to seek help or something. Suicidal, it's not easy. It's hard, and there are thoughts that don't go away easily. You don't just wake up one day and say, I'm gonna kill myself. It's something that kind of piles up, and sometimes you don't know. Like me, I didn't know I had all this void, and things came piling up in my life, and then it get to a point where I didn't find the meaning of life again, or I felt the easy way out was that, because I didn't want to share. Or sometimes I felt if you share, people are going to say, is that what is bothering you? If I can tell you what is bothering me, that's what humans will. They will not see your problem. So that's why if you tell God to give you a good friend, you can vent, who can listen to you, it's a blessing. If you need help, seek help. If you get yourself in those thoughts, seek help. And something that I'll say again and again, forgive yourself. If it's something you feel like you did, forgive yourself. Even if you are hurt by somebody else and that's why you're like this, forgive you, and then you're going to be able to forgive them. Forgive yourself. Love yourself so much. Know that there's no other person, only you, and it's going to work out. And yeah, that's my story, and I hope somebody is encouraged by it.
My story.
My story.
My story is a place of hope and healing for all people, men, women, veterans, young adults, teenagers, and even children. Everyone, regardless of their social status or sexual orientation. It is a place of motivation and inspiration. My story will talk about real life situations and real life stories, because no one is immune to stress, depression, anxiety, and other mental health problems, and our stories resonate. My name is Grace Ngere, Suicide Awareness and Prevention Advocate.